The United States men's national team squeaked by to the Gold Cup semifinal. Canada and Jesse Marsch eat the humble pie. And your suggestions for the new American soccer cities. That and more on Monday's Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. The sound of Franz Peckenpower at the top means just one thing. You found your way to Morning Kick Around, where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's favoriteest country, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm Robert Kerr. He's Jason Davis. How y'all doing on this wonderful final day of June?
Y'all? Am I y'all? I'm y'all, Robert. That's what you're saying?
Sure.
Okay, I'm y'all. I want to be y'all.
The colloquial you all.
I'm good. I'm ready to talk Gold Cup, which got interesting this weekend, certainly. Club World Cup. Yeah, we'll get into that. I will give you one guess as to why I am wearing this shirt. The San Diego Loyal shirt. It's a team that no longer exists. It's a dead American soccer club, and there are lots of those. I was given this shirt, by the way, since I'm talking about it, by a listener to the radio show who wanted to get me a shirt with my kid's name on it. My kid's name is Tiago, Thiago. Fortunately, my man wrote the name wrong on the form, and it is misspelled on the back of this shirt.
Is it Thiago?
Let me see if I can you see it?
Oh, that doesn't say Tiago at all.
No, it does not. It does not say Tiago, but I still wear it sometimes. And why am I wearing it today, Rob? I'll give you one guess. Can you get it?
You're feeling very loyal today.
I do feel loyal today. Chat. Can the chat figure out why I am wearing a San Diego Loyal shirt today? Maybe the chat can figure it out. I'll give you like 30 seconds to give a guess here. Go ahead.
That's a big misspelling. That's more than just like a letter. Like, I mean, I didn't know I know like maybe there's a different last name or something, but Davis, I mean, geez, like there's a couple missing letters there, a couple extra letters there too.
No, it's just Tiago spelled poorly. That's all it is. It's not extra letters. Laundry day. Bernardo says laundry day. No, it's not laundry day. I have 30 shirts right here. I can't see them because I can't get them on camera, but trust me, there are lots of shirts. I could wear many other shirts. I am wearing this shirt because one of the heroes of the Gold Cup played for this team, briefly played for this team, not for a long stint, not lots of games and not lots of goals. But did score, as far as I can tell, based on Wikipedia, 7 goals in 5 games. Rubio Rubin, Guatemalan international, goal scorer against Canada, former member of the San Diego Loyal.
Was that the same Rubio Rubin? Did he have a cup of coffee with the Colorado Rapids?
He played for Real Salt Lake, is probably what you're thinking. He played for Real Salt Lake. Yeah. So Rubio Rubin, and this is not story time, but let's make it a little bit. Rubio Rubin was very hyped coming out of Beaverton, Oregon. He got a contract with Utrecht coming out of high school, basically, in Oregon, and went over to Holland and was around. And anytime a young American player gets picked up by any noteworthy European side, American soccer fans go crazy. We get really excited. Rubio Rubin was one of those guys for a little while.
Oh yeah.
He bounced around. He ended up in Tijuana back in 2018. He played for Bob Bradley, I think, at Staubach. He played at Staubach. Whether Bob Bradley was there, actually, I have to go check the timeline. He played San Diego, Real Salt Lake, Real Monarchs, Querétaro for a bit in Mexico. He is now a member of the Charleston Battery. He's a Charleston Battery player these days, and he scored a great goal against Canada to help Guatemala beat Canada and make the semifinal of the Gold Cup. So that is why I'm wearing this shirt today, Rob.
Call me crazy, but yeah, I thought I recognized this name from so many different phases of life, because I remember back in the day when I was on Last Word on Soccer podcast, he was actually on the United States national team, which was a fever dream ago. So yeah, quite a storied career of Mr. Rubio Rubin. Who would have thought? But
who would have thought?
Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? Indeed, just a few years ago, different country, different place, whole different career than I imagine he would have expected. We got a lot of good stuff on the way. Great segments to come. A lot of your feedback. Some humble pie. We'll delve into some Jesse Marsch, U-turns, so to speak. But I got to give a shout out. We got some great support over the weekend. We got to give a big clap to Kenneth Our biggest donation to the show. He donated. Do we say the amount?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Big
Why
shout
wouldn't
out
you?
to Kenneth. $500 donation.
500
I think
bucks.
it was thrown into the chat by Mike as a LARP, and it turned into reality. So big thanks to Kenneth for the
Did
big
you
donation.
did you say LARP?
I meant to
Is
say
that what
Lark.
you
I misspoke Lark.
said? Like live action role play? Is that what?
Role play of someone who, and he actually did it for real by accident. But
Yeah.
regardless of my poor choice of words, with the word salad coming out of my mouth, big thanks to Kenneth. Big thanks to all the subscribers. We crashed through 2,700 subscribers
Yeah.
on the channel over the weekend.
Definitely want to celebrate that moment, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like and subscribe and the bell and get all that stuff. So Ken did his donation over on our coffee page, co.fi.com. Even though you say coffee, look for Morning Kick Around. And I wanted to point out that we had an original goal, some little startup cost things. We busted through that thanks to Ken. We are now set because I think Ken's idea was to help us get out into the world and do a live show in 2026, which is something we talked about on Friday. So we have applied Ken's money to a new goal to fund a trip. So go over to coffee.com and if you want to help that, obviously become a member on the YouTube channel. That's a way to just be consistently involved in the community. Everybody, whether you're coffee or YouTube channel MK Ultra, gets access to the Discord, Rob, which is popping off. Like I had trouble catching up over on the Discord this weekend. People were really going off with thoughts on a number of different soccer topics, and we have channels for all kinds of things. People sharing pictures from their local teams, and obviously talking U.S. men's national team and MLS and Inter Miami and all this stuff. So join up; it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and like you said, catching up. It's been really fantastic to check the phone, and there's a whole probably like 2 or 3 full conversations going on from local MLS, a lot of national team commentary as well. So big perk of the membership, only costs $3.99 to get a membership here on YouTube to the Morning Kick Around channel. The Discord, big part of it, early access to videos, priority commenting on these live shows, and so much more. Is there anything else to cover? Social media
No,
at mkickaround on
that
social
yes,
media.
that
And
yes.
then write us an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com, and we're going to highlight at least 1 or 2 of those in the final segment of the show. But we've taken enough time. Let's get into our segments here for Monday. Let's kick off our long balls for Monday morning here on Morning Kick Around. Long balls here on Morning Kick Around. It is Monday, June 30th. I'm Robert. He's Jason. Probably the headline of the day. We'll lead off with it. The United States men's national team squeak through to the Gold Cup semifinal after a quarterfinal penalty kick shootout win. Lots of good, bad, ugly, but victorious in the end.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I will reference something said by my other podcast video show partner, Jared Dubois from the Best Soccer Show. He said, it might not have been pretty, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but it might not have been pretty, but what it was fight. They showed that fight we've been asking them to show, right? They gave all they had to beat Costa Rica in that game. And, I can talk about the roller coaster that was the Max Arfston experience, Rob. I mean, that
Wow.
thing, woo, baby. Up and down and back and forth and all kinds. I mean, he scores a goal. He presides an assist. He also gives up a penalty and gets beaten as part of a duo with Luca de la Torre for the equalizer from Alonso Martinez. I mean, there was a lot of ugly. But we knew this team was imperfect. We knew these players were not necessarily the top level that the U.S. men's national team has available to them. And what we got was just enough. And let's spotlight Matt Freese, who was incredible and said after the game, penalties are my thing. That's great. You owning that. Talked about the scouting that they did, goalkeeping coach helping him. He stood there ice cold and took a Francisco Calvo down the middle penalty and just batted it away like it was nothing. I mean, that was like Dikembe Mutombo level stuff. Like, no,
No.
no. I really enjoyed that. No, like again, if you were doing it, if you're looking at it from a coaching perspective, if you were being overly critical for reasons of improvement later on, there's lots to pick out there. There are lots of mistakes, lots of things that weren't great. But man, the point is to win the game. It's a tournament environment. Costa Rica is no pushover. They've been bringing passion in this tournament since they started it, and the United States stood strong. I'm happy, Rob. I'm happy today.
I call them plus minus players. I'm referring to Max Arfsten. You're talking about the experience. He plus minus player. Like, can you at least, at this level, when you get the start, can you at least be at the level? He produced the absolute worst moment. Would you say that challenge to produce the penalty, probably one of the worst moments of the game?
Oh,
And
I mean,
then the goal, the second goal that he scores, the nicest moment of the game.
well, what Graham is saying is correct. He was responsible for all 4 goals. He either made a pass or scored the goal himself, or he caused the problem defensively through the tackle for the penalty and just getting roasted there as well. I mean, that's the story of a guy, and he was not, when he arrived at the national team level, he was not a defender. He was a wingback in a system that asked him to be an attacking player. I mean, that's what a wingback is. You're playing with 3 backs, 3 center backs, and you're asking your wide players to get up the field. Max Darfton is excellent at that. He is excellent. And I remember talking to him on the radio when he was becoming a national team player and asking him about playing fullback for the U.S. men's national team. And he said, well, I've never really played fullback before. And I went, oh, well, that's not what you want to hear from a guy who's going to have to defend a little bit every now and then. And it's clearly a work in progress. But he giveth and he taketh away. And he did not giveth more than he taketh away, or tooketh away, last night. But they got to a full-time level. And again, Matt Freese was incredible. Even though U.S. missed 2 penalties, both of them pretty poor, it was a very good performance overall.
All Action Arfsten should be his nickname moving forward, just providing nothing but entertainment. But yeah, to your point, and to Jared's point, there was no lackadaisical performers, even though maybe some of the players weren't technically amazing. There was no give up. There was no shrugging like, meh, we gave it a good college try. Like, people were getting thoroughly stuck in there. You can tell that there was a desperation that even though, they went down early, got the lead back, lost the lead again. A lot of teams could have, been like, it's not our day. Could have even given up another goal to lose the whole thing. That was definitely on the cards. Losing a lead, you're very vulnerable. But then, they refused to lose.
But this is the thing. The what if game is a losing call. That's a bad path to go. Stop with the what if game. Let's all resolve to avoid the what if game, because what happens is, if you're a negative person or you just want to be critical, or you're tilted towards the pain that was possible, your brain goes, well, if Alonso Martinez didn't hit the post, we lose the game. If this doesn't happen, we lose the game. If Malik Tillman converts his penalty kick, maybe they win in regulation. I mean, there are other things the other way that could have happened that would have allowed the United, but that's the way the sport works, right? If everybody hit all their chances, it would be 8-8 every game. It's not. For that very reason, it's difficult to score a goal. You make mistakes. You mishit the ball. You hit the post on a penalty kick. These things happen. And in the balance of the game, was the United States overly better than Costa Rica? No. A shade better over 90 minutes? Yes, I think that's probably fair. And they had a goalkeeper who did the job in penalties, period. And beat out Keylor Navas, by the way. For the rest of his life, whatever happens with Matt Freese, you'll be able to say, I destroyed Keylor Navas in a penalty kick shootout.
Yeah, I was going to say, whenever Keylor Navas comes, whenever the United States men's national team faces Keylor Navas, I'm always like, there's going to be at least one absolutely crazy save that's going to rob them. And I remember in World Cup qualifying back in, the 2018, the dark days, he did just that. And he seemingly did so again last night, but at the end of the day, overcome it. And, kudos. It's like a kind of a boogeyman that never showed up in these Gold Cups. And they finally kind of beat that guy that was never there.
Yeah. I also would like to acknowledge Damian Downs, who maybe had a chance to get a shot off and wasn't able to do it towards the end of regulation after he came on, but took the penalty that won the game. And he's brand new to the team, German-American player, playing in the second division, might be moving on. I've seen Southampton is maybe making a move for him. So would he thrive in the championship. We may have multiple American strikers playing in the championship in the very near future. But he was ice cold, when he needed to be, and I think that's a big moment for a young player.
Yeah, that was a scary moment. Probably the freshest and least experienced player getting the biggest shot of the game. And I was watching it with my son, and he said, "Who's that?" And I said, "I'm not quite sure."
Oh,
And then, and then when he steps up, I saw the name on the back. I know him as a name, but just as the face profile, as Fox or the World Feed was doing, just like the shooter's face, really tight. Didn't recognize him there, but good on Damian Downs. United States men's national team take on Guatemala Wednesday in the semifinal. We'll get to Guatemala's exploits in the quarters later in the show, but long ball number 2. Let's get the Taps song going for MLS at Club
oh,
World Cup.
yeah.
MLS is done at the Club World Cup after Inter Miami bows out. They lose handily 4-0 to the European champions, Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, I mean, as expected, all 4 goals in the first half. Probably could have been 5 or 6 or maybe even 7. You wonder if maybe PSG just we'll just throttle down a bit, save Lionel Messi the embarrassment of a bigger scoreline. They didn't have to exert themselves. Inter Miami was the worst team for PSG to play if you want MLS to do well, because they just don't play defense. They don't know how to be structured. They don't have stability through that midfield. They are wild and loose and open, and sometimes that works in Major League Soccer, and sometimes it works against lesser European teams. Shout out to that team for beating Porto. That still is on their resume. That's still something they can point to. But nobody went into a game between the reigning European champions and Inter Miami thinking, you know what? The Herons got this. There was actually one person in our comments, I think, who was like, if I was rich, I'd put $1,000 on Inter Miami. And I was like, I don't know, brother. That
That's
doesn't seem like a
expendable.
lot.
That's the definition of expendable income.
That does not seem like a good bet to me. And it turned out not to be. I don't think we need to do a lot of hand wringing over this. There are some things coming out of the general performance of MLS teams. LAFC was pretty poor. The Esperance performance was especially disappointing. Seattle had the most difficult group in the tournament and played relatively well considering their competition, right? Held their own at times, weren't played off the park.
No.
Again, the gap in quality exists. Rob, if Seattle was supposed to beat teams like Atletico Madrid and PSG, they would have players making 6, 7, 8 figures across their team. And that's not that's not how it works in MLS. So nothing should be a surprise. But I do think that in general, we can have that conversation. We should be having that conversation. And whether MLS can say, we at least didn't get blown out across the tournament. If you are an advocate of MLS pushing the envelope and being bigger with their spending and their ambition, use this. I'm going to use it. I'm going to say, I don't really care how they did. If you want to be competitive with the world's best leagues, Don Garber talking about MLS being one of the best leagues in the world, probably by now. I think we're past that date that he promised.
I think that was
Johnny Infantino trying to sell us on MLS being a top 5 league in the world because he's here. Spend the money.
I'm here.
Open up the checkbook. Let these owners who are ambitious push the league forward.
Yeah, this tournament if anything else, was a great visual representation of where Major League Soccer is in kind of like the world pantheon to a degree. Like the infrastructure and the cores of teams and whatnot are developed enough to be competent and hang to a degree. But that next level of non-restricted pocketbooks seems to be the restriction now. It's like some of the best players for these Major League Soccer teams were near or at the level, but there wasn't enough of them to overcome them. And you think that the teams that, PSG obviously throttled down. This game could have been 7-8 or whatever, but that's the best team possibly in the world. So not
it is
too
the
many.
best team in the world.
Yeah, best team in the world. So
Possibly.
there's yeah. Well, you never want to speak in absolutes, right? But yeah, just great visual representation of the limitations that Major League Soccer clubs have.
Yes.
And a thought came through my mind that what would be bigger in the next year or two for American soccer landscape issues. Like, obviously, we got very excited about the possibility of promotion, relegation, and a competing Division One league. Would the removal of spending be as earth-shaking as those announcements?
Would taking the training wheels off MLS be as earth-shaking as the potential of Pro Rel and in USL? And then, yes, absolutely, it would be. It'd be more transformative. Now, Major League Soccer has always been conservative because, as originally conceived, it was we have to protect against the league folding because every single time we've launched a professional men's soccer league, it has folded for one reason or another. And of course, if you know your history, you know that MLS nearly did fold after 2001, closed down 2 teams. Don Garber had to convince the owners to hang on, and they did, and now we're here. And I do think it's a sliding scale of expectations and demands. And we're at a point now because MLS is established and because there are lots more soccer fans who are sort of conscious to what's going on, because they're the big dogs on the block. It's like, you have to do this because I demanded it as a soccer fan in America, right? Like you owe us something as soccer fans to push us forward as a country, which is, there's something there psychologically that I think is interesting. But if it's true and if that's your mentality, well, Major League Soccer is they're the how do I say this? While USL is important, while the clubs we've been talking about with say Michael Hitchcock are important, the game is most driven by the highest level, by the most visible version of American soccer domestically, and that's Major League Soccer. So if suddenly they said, you know what, no more rules on spending, do what you want, just don't spend yourself into debt or don't spend yourself into insolvency, that would be massive. Massive. It doesn't mean everybody would start spending 50, 60, 80 million dollars on their payroll. I'm not saying that would happen overnight, but there would definitely be owners who would say, "Oh, I don't have any restrictions. I'm signing 8 7-figure players, and we're going to go dominate this league and hopefully the CONCACAF Champions Cup as well."
We shall see what happens first, top down or bottom up, with these changes or possible changes in the American soccer landscape. Shifting over, long ball number 3. Part of our Friday show is the Fab Four, and part of that was the Jagermeister Cup review. A couple interesting results, though. We'll come to our game that we picked out, but probably one of the funniest or most captivating images of the soccer weekend here domestically came from Rhode Island versus the Portland Bangers.
No, not the Portland Bangers.
Portland Hearts of Pine, excuse me. Too many Portlands.
You get your Portlands mixed up, and we're going to get people mad at us. The Portland Bangers are a semi-pro team out in Oregon. This is Portland Hearts of Pine, which is in, of course, the USL and in Maine. That's why they're playing in the Jagermeister Cup. That's Cano Smith standing on the roof of the stadium there in Providence because he got sent off. Is that legal? I'm serious. Is that legal? I don't honestly know whether once you're sent off, if you're allowed to go find another vantage point that is still like, is he technically in the stadium? Like, what's the rule?
Well, I think it's a touchline ban, so you can't be in the team area. So like on the touchline, on the bench, all that stuff. So you see those like the famous like Jose Mourinho just like sitting one row behind and stuff like that. I think that's kind of the same, but this individual here has taken it to a whole nother length, trying to get the bird's eye view from the roof of the stadium. Not something you see every day. And I did see some fun memes of this, talking about this is American soccer heritage unfolding in front of our face.
Absolutely is. Yeah, this is great. I love this. Is it good for the Jagermeister Cup, which it should be drunk at most? That just the base state of the Jagermeister Cup should be that it's drunk. Cano Smith he's got his own legacy and myth in New England soccer, having played for the Revs. Go look up some of the things the Revs fans have said about Cano Smith over the years. He apparently doesn't know exactly what happened and why he got sent off. The referee said it was for foul and abusive language. The team didn't even know he was sent off when they came out for the second half. He got sent off at halftime.
That's good communications there.
Yeah. So he must have hung around, yelled at the referee, or at least that's what the referee says, got sent off. The team went in the locker room. They came out like, "Hey, where's coach? Where's Cano? What's going on?" And then you look up, and there he is standing. I want to know in this image. I'm assuming this is some sort of staffer, maybe an assistant. I don't know. He looks like young enough. He could be a player who maybe was not suited up for this game. Why did he get this job? Why did he have to go stand there with Kano top of the stadium? Like, what is that?
Well, in the NFL, they have the pullback assistant coaches that pull the head coaches back from
Yeah.
running into the linesman and running onto the field. Maybe he's the don't fall off the edge. The pullback.
He's the pullback coach for the top of the stadium. That's what that is.
He's had a lot of Jaeger, so you don't want him to be too close to the edge there. But the game that we highlighted on Friday as the one to watch was South Georgia Tormenta versus Charleston Battery. And that game, interesting quirk about the Jagermeister Cup, it goes to penalties to get these results. They don't have ties in the Jagermeister Cup.
Well, it can't. It's a cup. Gotta move forward. What are you talking about? Yeah,
so
Rob,
Charleston Battery beat South Georgia Tormenta 3-3 after penalties. Charleston comes out victorious. There was another game going to penalties. New Mexico United beat Colorado Springs in some PKs. And the one on screen, Rhode Island ended up winning over Portland Hearts of Pine 4-1. But interesting competition here, this Jagermeister Cup.
So let me go to the chat. Let me go to my man Chris Sow, one of our MK Ultras. Shout out to Chris. Be like Chris. Be a supporter of the show. He's got the law of the game. So sending off offenses, player, substitute player. Now this doesn't say coach, but I'm assuming it applies to a coach as well. Must leave the vicinity of the field of play and the technical area. Chris saying that would mean this is illegal as long as he isn't coaching from up on high. Now, that's why I'm worried about the presence of this young man standing alongside Kano Smith. What is his job? What is he doing? If he's not pulling back Kano Smith from the edge, which I don't think that's his job, Rob, as much as that would be hilarious, it looks like he might be holding something. Now, if there is text messaging happening, would that be illegal? Would that be beyond the scope of the send? Like, I think that would be, he can't do that, right? Right?
No, I think that's probably hard to enforce. I feel like whenever we see on like Premier League games and stuff like that, they're always texting or walkie-talkieing or something to the bench.
Are they?
Up there like that?
Are they?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? Should they be allowed to?
I don't think that's I think that's definitely a dark gray area. I don't think you're technically supposed to, but you
something
can be
like
sneaky.
this. Something like this. Like Miguel Herrera on a walkie-talkie after he got sent off. I think this was I'm not sure what this was. This might have been some
Leagues Cup or something.
game. Yeah, it could be League
He's
Cup.
He's wearing a Club America.
He has a Club America jacket on. He loves wearing a jacket with the badge. That's his move. He does what he's doing with Costa Rica now. Or he was in the Gold Cup. Obviously, this happened. You can see it happen in Orlando. So yeah, they all go via text. John says they all do text messages from high up in the stands. So that all Kano was doing was following in the grand tradition of sent off coaches. But yeah, Jagermeister Cup delivering some fun and some entertainment and some results. Did you get through all of them? Did you get through all of them?
No, I didn't get through all of them over the weekend. There was actually quite a number of fixtures. So yeah, the round of games started off with that Rhode Island, Portland, Hearts of Pine, and then Ford Madison 1-0 over 1 Knoxville. Greenville Triumph beat Miami FC 2-0. Detroit City FC beat Hartford on the road in Penns. Indy 11 beat Birmingham in Penns. Pittsburgh 1-0 over Westchester. Richmond fell at home to Lexington. The Charleston over South Georgia Tormenta penalties. Loudon, a lot of penalties. Loudon beat Charlotte in penalties. Tulsa 4-1 over Chattanooga Red Wolves. Highest scoring one of the round. Phoenix Rising on the road 5-4 over Texoma. A 9-goal thriller out there. New Mexico on Penns over Colorado Springs. San Antonio 1-0 over Union Omaha. Oakland Roots got a 2-1 win over Monterey Bay. Orange County SC 1-0 over Sac Republic. And in the final, there's the final one on Saturday. Las Vegas Lights 2-0 over Spokane. And then yesterday, the final match of this round, Louisville 1-0 over North Carolina FC.
Yeah, what I like about this is that you've got some upsets here. I mean, just in terms of the levels of the teams, in terms of the leagues that they play in, right? Texoma is a League One team, nearly took down a championship team, but Phoenix Rising prevails. So I'm looking at this. South Georgia couldn't get the job done against Charleston in penalties, but they pushed them all the way to the limit. with that 3-3 score line. Greenville beating Miami FC. That's a League One team beating a championship side, doing it in Greenville, but still worth mentioning. So I think this is interesting in that regard. A team that, teams that are struggling in the league also have something else to play for, right? That's awesome that there's something there for teams who might not have playoff soccer in their future this season. And I'm thinking about Oakland Roots, who are dead last in the Western Conference of the USL Championship, but get that win over Monterey Bay in the Jagermeister Cup, and we'll be moving on. There you go.
And that's Long Balls here for Monday. If you're tuned in now and if you haven't hit subscribe yet, do so now. Join the MK Ultras. Join the American soccer conversation here on Morning Kicker. We surpassed 2,700 subs over the weekend. Looking for more. I think 3,000 should be our next goal to rally behind. Just 300-ish to go. That'd be fantastic to do so. If you want to take it a step farther and become a member of the channel, true MK Ultra, $3.99 a month is all it costs. You get access to the Discord, which is seriously hotting up. Great stuff over the weekend. Local, MLS, international, abroad, and all those great threads on the Morning Kick Around Discord channel. And then you can also, part of the membership, you get early access to videos. We make bonus content for you, and you get your priority comments on the screen during these live shows. So $3.99, become an MK Ultra. Or you can be like Ken and donate via ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. We just set a new goal. What did you set the dollar amount for our next goal at Ko-fi?
$3,000, but Ken's money, that $500 contribution that he made to us last week, is going to that. So 16% of the way to the goal of $3,000 already, thanks to Ken. And obviously the goal is to get there so that we can get out among the people in 2026, do something cool. Hopefully in a soccer hotbed, someplace where fans are excited. I mean, we've talked about going to Albuquerque, Robin, but probably, we'll put this to the people. We'll figure out what the best place is to go, but there could be a trip out and to meet the people.
Yeah, a supportive club that loves the show, a club opening, a debut would be fun to go to, or even that thing called the World Cup. Something like that. Make 2026 exciting again, right? morningkickaround@gmail.com is the place to write an email. I switched it up on you there. And then that's the one at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky if you want to follow along on social media. And then we're also a podcast. Search Morning Kick Around on your favorite audio platform and take us with us as a podcast. We are going to catch our breath, come right back, talk a little humble pie for the Canadians here on today's Hot Topic on Morning Kick Around. Welcome in. This is Hot Topic on Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason, and it's wild what just a little bit of time and some soccer results will do to a man's demeanor. Coming into the Gold Cup, Jesse Marsch very high on his Canadian side, saying that they are ready to win a tournament. He had all his guys on board, and things were going great for Canada. And then you get to the knockout stages, and sometimes things don't go your way. Canada, of course, lose to Guatemala. I think on the broadcast, they said it was the first time since like 1990 something since Canada had, or no, 2002, I think they said. A very long time ago, 20 plus years since Canada's lost to Guatemala, and it's happened to them.
Guatemala into the semifinals of the Gold Cup for the first time since 1996. That's long enough ago that I was in high school, and I'm trying to think of what I was doing with my life at that point. I was in high school. It's a long time ago that Guatemala's been in a semifinal. I wanted to put this quote up on screen. All right, this is before the Gold Cup got underway. When the controversy was erupting around Christian Pulisic begging off for the U.S. men's national team this summer, the back and forth, hey, I'm too tired, boss, I can't play. That's not what Christian said, but that's kind of how we all took it. Jesse Marsch, in front of the media, said, not one guy called me and said, Coach, it's been a long year. Maybe I don't come. Not even close to that conversation. And while he then went on to say, after he was asked about these comments, while he went on to say, I'm not saying anything about the U.S. men's national team. I have no interest in coaching the U.S. men's national team. This is not about the U.S. men's national team. We all know it's about the U.S. men's national team.
Totally not about it. Totally.
We know it is, right? Jesse is an American. He is a coach who wants to be successful as an American soccer coach, right? He obviously took the Canada job because it was available to him. And I think he is passionate enough about whatever he does that he wants to win with Canada. But part of the reason he wants to win with Canada, Rob, is to shove it in the faces of the people who didn't hire him at U.S. Soccer. That is 100% true. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. So when he makes comments like that, and then they lose to Guatemala in a quarterfinal, of course, it's going to come back on him. Now, we have his post-game comments. I thought about maybe trying to grab some quotes, but let's just listen to Jesse. Now, we may skip ahead and try to find where he said what he said that's most important to us, but let's start with Jesse as he does his post-game press conference yesterday.
Very contentious game. You knew that there would be physical. We talked about it yesterday in the match day -1. Penalty call, benches raising. Overall, how did you feel about the run of play in that 90 minutes?
Yeah, it was a crazy game.
Okay, let's skip ahead. This is just about the game, right? So, but Jesse,
like we were very much in control of the match in the first half. Guatemala was spirited and aggressive, and then moments change matches, and the double yellow right before half obviously then changes the match. So
Schaffelberg, by the way.
I don't think
yes.
The first one on Schaffelberg is a yellow.
Okay, this is where now he did not. I don't know that he directly criticized the referees, and I know we're not necessarily here just for this conversation about the way the game played out. But Jesse, you're wrong. You're wrong, Jesse. Those are yellow cards, Jesse. Those are yellow cards, and Schaffelberg has to know better. And as I said somewhere else, when you imbue your team with this us against the world mentality, when you tell your team you've got to fight and scrap, they're disrespecting you, if you don't go after them, if you don't push the envelope, if you don't make it hard on them in ways that could be skirting the line between legal and illegal, you risk this. Now, that's not to say it's the wrong approach. Because, Rob, it's been fairly successful for Canada. Canada has more fight, more spirit, they're more dangerous. They're more of a challenge for Mexico and the United States, the powers that be in CONCACAF. They are better against foreign opponents, big names. But when you're in this game against a spirited Guatemala team, as he called them,
I love when performances and teams are called spirited. There's so much to that.
That is patronizing as hell, right? He's patting Guatemala on the head. Oh, look how spirited they were. We shouldn't have lost this game. They didn't really deserve to beat us, but they were spirited, right? All right, let's go on. Let's continue.
I agree with the second one, but not the first one. And our guys fought hard, and we have a lapse in the second half for 1 second, and we pay for it. And other than that, Guatemala is not that dangerous, and we can't seem to find a way to get even down a man with some opportunities around the goal, and on set pieces couldn't quite be effective enough on set pieces. And so then in the end we lose on a penalty shootout and extra kicks. But I'm still very positive on this group. I think we made a lot of progress with a lot of players. Segur, Saliba, Jebison, Waterman.
I'm going to skip ahead here. I'm
surprised he didn't play Saliba in this game.
I feel bad for the group because it's important for us to lose, or important for us to learn from this, because I think we lose because we beat ourselves. And
that's something he said that stood out, Rob. They lose because they beat themselves. Now, I don't know that there's anything that's maybe a stronger reflection of the personality of your coach or the way your coach has you prepared than that. You lose because you beat yourself. Isn't that the number one job of the coach to keep his team from beating itself, from making the mistakes that lead to losses like this against unexpected opponents? You're not supposed to lose to Guatemala if you're Canada.
That's true. They're totally not. Like you said, the historical precedents, they hadn't lost to Guatemala in 20 plus years. Guatemala hadn't advanced from this stage for nearly 30 years. So if history has to say, Canada should be advancing. And I got to say, I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping for a USA versus Canada kind of showdown at some point in this tournament.
Yeah,
That
we
would have been
all
really,
were.
really exciting.
We all were. It looked like a grudge match. It looked like this opportunity to spark the rivalry a little bit more, right? And obviously having Jesse on the other side makes it that much more intense. And there's some, revenge for the United States against Canada after the Nations League. I would love to get that win back. But
Yeah.
let's go beat them, and then they went and screwed it up. Man, they
But
went and screwed it up.
with Jesse Marsch though specifically, I feel like this is his third cycle of like, at least in my head, of his career. Like, he comes up with Salzburg, does really good, gets some marquee performances, and then it kind of falls apart when with the move to the Bundesliga Red Bull team kind of falls down. Goes to Leeds, has a rough patch, gets a couple signature moments, but then all of his talk kind of like when the results don't match, his balloon deflates. Here we
Yeah.
are with Canada. He got some groundwork. He looks like he's turning it around, gets a couple signature wins. Team disappoints, balloon deflates. So like it's like he's got this weird arc of having to like always kind of eat the humble pie because he big ups his team so much and talks so much ahead of time, gets a couple things to back it up temporarily, and then seems to kind of, like I said, like the kind of a wet fart of a balloon letting go here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the growing pains that come with trying to turn what is not a soccer nation into a respectable international soccer program. The United States went through these growing pains. I mean, you could argue maybe we still are going. You could argue that, right? But that's the thing. Like, it's never going to be a straight line from, hey, we got a little bit better and we got a player who's at Bayern Munich and we got a player who's scoring goals in France and is wanted by teams like Inter Milan, to, oh, we're winning things like it's nothing. It doesn't work that way. And especially in CONCACAF, we know, and Canada knows on some level, but we know that Guatemala, Costa Rica, definitely, Panama, Honduras, these teams can beat you. They will certainly beat you up. And if you don't respond well, then this is what happens. This is what happens, Rob. All right. I'm trying to figure out like where Jesse is talking about the issue of his players. We didn't have half our team, et cetera, et cetera. This is a little bit of hunt and peck for us, but let's keep going.
Can't do that in important matches, and we certainly can't do that next summer.
Doug?
To that point, Doug McIntyre, Fox Sports. To that point, Jesse, you talked a lot about wanting to turn some of the progress that you've made with this team into trophies. Didn't happen in March. It didn't happen here. What do you have to do between, first of all, how much of a setback is that? And what do you have to do between now and next summer to put yourselves in the best position to have a good performance?
Look, I'm relentless in the idea that we're going to keep improving this team. If I'm honest, we're missing half of our group,
All right, let's see where does it go from here.
Now, okay, to be fair, look, I know this is the framing, right? I'll put this back up on the page. Not one guy called me and said, Coach, it's been a long year, maybe I don't come, right? Taking shots at the U.S. men's national team, Christian Pulisic, all that stuff. So he said that the people are saying, well, you said that, and now you're saying you're missing half your team? Now, and I apologize for the audio. I can't crank it up anymore. I wish it could be a little bit louder. But him to say, we're missing half our team, I don't think he should have said it because it sounds like an excuse. But, Rob, Alphonso Davies is out injured. That's a massive miss. That's a massive loss for Canada. Now, Alphonso Davies changes things a lot. And I thought Stefan Eustáquio was going to be available post Porto's group stage run in the Club World Cup, but turns out they didn't release him. Not for this game. He wasn't available to them for this game. And Eustáquio was an upgrade for Canada in midfield. So those two guys, and we could go through I'm not a Canada person. I don't really care that much. We could obviously do it if we wanted to. We could find the other couple of guys he's talking about that represent the half of his team or half of our guys are missing thing. But you had Jonathan David, you had Tajon Buchanan, you had Alistair Johnson, you had Kyle Aaron, you had, these are players. He hyped up Sugar. These are players that you would want if you were playing a World Cup qualifier or if you were playing in a World Cup next year because you don't have to qualify. So Jesse is, compared to the United States, it's night and day. Right? The United States is missing effectively their entire starting lineup minus
Except
2
for
or
Chris
3 guys.
Richards. Yeah. Except for
Yeah.
Chris Richards, and and he's only just really becoming a first teamer, right? I mean, he's growing into his role as like a every game starting center back. It is nice to see Tillman to kind of start to take on that role, but not nearly resembling the first team like Canada is in this.
I'm going to see if I can skip ahead. I think there's
Well,
another
what does he
question I
say
wanna
right
get to.
after this when he says he doesn't have his team? Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get back to where that is.
Really strongly that this was a really good group, and it was really important to develop more players with this team and see how far we could push it. And I wasn't talking that much about a trophy as much as I was talking about moving forward day by day, game by game, and making sure.
Okay, I'm actually done with this, Rob. I think we should move on because now all he's doing is baking in reasons why they didn't win. Right? He's trying to excuse. He's saying no excuses, but he's giving all the excuses. Stuff like, I wasn't actually talking about winning trophies. I wasn't actually talking about winning this tournament. I was just talking about getting better. And the funny thing about that is it's so subjective. Right now, they're like, oh, maybe we played better, but we lost. That's a thing you can say in this sport, and that is such cover. And Jesse Marsch, I think, is a decent coach, but that's such cover when coaches don't deliver, Rob.
Yeah,
Because you
sure
can
it is. I
always
mean, in this
say,
game, I mean, they didn't outshoot, outpossess, out big chance anything to Guatemala in this game.
no, they didn't. They did not. Well, they were down a man for 45 minutes. So you can always say, well, we were down a man for 45 minutes. And of course, that's Jacob Schaffelberg's action, not Jesse Marsch's responsibility.
Yeah, as
Right,
a coach, shouldn't he be like Schaffelberg? Hey, why don't you chill out? You're on a yellow card.
I mean, if you can communicate that, yes, I would imagine that would be there. I mean, that's preloaded messaging, though, Rob. You don't go, the game doesn't start and things are happening, and you're like, Jacob, chill out. Like, you have to be, as a team, aware. Like, Jacob Schaffelberg has to be smart enough to go, I got a yellow. Here's this long ball over the top. There's a center back there. I can't line him up with an elbow. I just can't do it because I'm going to get carded and I'm going to get sent off and I'm going to make it difficult for my team to win today. So you can trace that back to Jesse Marsch, but I would also say that coaches can always do that thing like, well, if it wasn't for the red card, yada, 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 and fill in the blanks. And we're doing that all the time. We're always like, well, what if this and what if that? And if he hit the post and he did. Here, in this case, Jesse Marsch, his team failed at this stage when they weren't supposed to, when expectations were much, much higher. And what he's trying to say is, well, it's more about getting better, and we're going to learn from this, which actually don't have a problem with that. That's kind of how you have to do this. But the man talked a big game. He could not shut up about the U.S. men's national team. And as fans of the U.S. men's national team, we are well within our rights to point at him, do an Nelson, and go, ha ha.
And at the same point, I mean, coaches lead by example. Jesse Marsch has gotten at least one red card. I mean, he missed, the first couple games of this tournament because he himself got red carded.
There is a line.
I mean, there's a lead by example.
Where the passion becomes a problem. That is, I'm just passionate. Yes, but you're passionately screwing your team over. Good job.
Yeah. If you're watching this now and you haven't hit subscribe, do so now. We are on the march to 3,000. We crashed through 2,700 subs over the weekend, going for that 3K. If you want to take your support of the program and of this channel to the next level, become an MK Ultra. $3.99 a month gets you priority commenting on these videos during the live show, gets you early access to our video releases, gets you bonus content and access to the Morning Kick Around Discord server. Great conversations going on there, and only are amping up with the more subscribers and members that are added. We got local soccer, we got Major League Soccer, we got international discussions and national team discussions all going on there. So $3.99 a month, become a MK Ultra. Follow along on social media at MKickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us a note. We're going to talk about some of your notes and comments in the next segment. morningkickaround@gmail.com is the place to write a note that's a little bit easier digestible. If you got, a memento, or what do you call it? A
manifesto?
A manifesto. Those are more easily digestible in email form than a YouTube comment.
Don't use AI to write your manifesto. Can I say that? Please don't use AI to write your manifesto.
From the heart.
Yeah.
Manifestos are not meant for for the AI. And then, we're also a podcast. Look us up if you do the podcast thing, Morning Kick Around, on your favorite podcast platform. All right, next up, we're going to delve into the comments and your replies on where should the new American soccer cities be. So come right back right here on Morning Kick Around. Hello, this is Big Question here on Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert. He's Jason. On Friday's show, we talked to Michael Hitchcock, who has been creating USL2 teams and partnering and advising USL2 teams across the country, and has been putting teams in places new to the game and has been finding some success from the community. So we asked you, the viewer, the MK Ultras, to make some suggestions for some places across our fair country that might be primed for a successful summer league team. And you guys in the comments and the emails gave us quite a few suggestions.
Before we dive into that, I do think this is also an opportunity for us to kind of catch up on a couple of things that are happening at the professional level when it comes to new clubs.
Sure.
We talked to Atletico Dallas guys last week. Please go listen to that interview. Very good stuff as they get ready. Of course, if you don't know, they're the club that is going to play at the Cotton Bowl, and their badge is a wolf fighting a snake. I don't know. I have to sell you any more than that, right? It's a wolf fighting a snake. Go look for that interview and listen to them talk about Atletico Dallas. We know that there is going to be a team, or there are apparently plans for a team just down the road in Fort Worth, Texas, part of the Fort Worth Dallas Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. That's going to be interesting because then it creates the possibility of a very local rivalry, which would be fascinating there. We don't have any other details. In fact, I think the USL Fort Worth website has nothing, like nothing, Rob. We don't have, I don't even know who's attached to this in terms of ownership, or who's behind USL Fort Worth. They have on their page, USLFW.com. Can you keep a secret? Professional soccer is coming to Fort Worth, and it's about time. USL Championship, USL Super League are on their way to Panther City. Is that what that's called? Fort Worth's called Panther City? I had no idea.
That's kind of cool. Dangerous.
Bringing both top-tier men's and women's team. Fort Worth, get ready. The World's Game has a new home. And then it says, found us, like question mark. There's nothing to see here. We just needed a page to make the email addresses work. But since you've stumbled in, go ahead, drop us a line. So we don't know anything. This is a mystery to uncover what's happening in Fort Worth. And we touched on Boise. Did we not touch on Boise?
We mentioned that there was a possibility of it, but over the weekend, I think shortly after the show on Friday, Athletic Club Boise came out with their branding and a little bit of a hype video.
There is a hype video. I don't have that, but I do have this. This is the badge. Now, I believe every time we talk Boise, what do I tell you Boise has, Rob? What do I mention that is there in Boise?
It is the presence of a significant amount of Basque folks. And there's a Basque community in Boise, Idaho.
Boise is not a big place. My sister lives near Boise. She visited D.C., and her kids were sort of stunned by the fact that there were lots of people because they just don't have a lot of people out there in Idaho. But they do have a Basque community, and they are clearly leaning into it with Athletic Club Boise. I mean, not even pretending like, oh, we're nodding to the Basque thing. But in fact, I'm looking at the explainer because there's always got to be an explainer, right?
The explainer was, I like how they threaded it into their hype video too.
Yes, it says Basque influence and homage in letter form. That's the B, I guess. Type design echoes the enduring spirit of Boise's Basque community, rooted in ancient Iberian design traditions, yada, yada, yada. Go read it. There's other parts. The stripes there are supposedly, the lines there are the agricultural fields of Idaho. We've got that even the angled top, Rob, at the top of the badge, even that line that kind of comes to a peak represents a mountaintop, because everything's got to represent something.
So does it represent a volcano because the lines don't touch there at the top and that's a little hole?
I don't know. It's really like that border is not part of what I'm reading. That it's more the green line that goes to a peak. This is Mountain Peak, And then you have at the bottom that V kind of situation is Treasure Valley. So it's also Beacon Valley. There's a star, something about a star garnet, the state gem of, is it Garnet? I actually don't know. Is it Garnet or Garnet?
From I remember Mandalorian, they called a decal a garnet. So let's go with
Okay, all
Mandalorian
right.
logic.
And then there's a peregrine falcon there. That's a peregrine falcon that apparently is part of Idaho's, identity. So it's
I
got a
wasn't
lot of
sure
stuff
if that
going on.
eyeball was a speck on my monitor or if that was part of it. So I'm glad
No,
you
I think
said
that's
that about
part of
that.
it. There's a lot going on there. It's a lot. Anyway, just wanted to hype that up. A little Boise update for you. All right, let's talk about ideas on where we can put teams.
So teams, summer league teams specifically, we got an email via Matt and Flint. He said he likes the idea of Traverse City in northern Michigan as a slam dunk. And I kind of led with this because I was curious because Traverse City is one of the bigger cities up north, and it's very much a vacation town. Like, the population like doubles or triples in the summers compared to the winters. And I wanted to put the idea out there of like putting teams in places specifically for that summer crowd that arrives, the vacationers, the seasonal tourists and whatnot. Like, would soccer, hold up there with such a transitive sort of population?
That's interesting. I don't know that I love the idea of sort of like, oh, we're going to capitalize on tourists necessarily. I mean, I guess every team kind of does a little bit. I maybe I can't put myself in the shoes of somebody who's like, you know what we're doing? We're going to Traverse City for vacation. And while we're there, we're going to watch a bunch of college kids play some soccer. Like that's just seems like a tough sell. Like my family would not be into it, Rob, is all I'm saying. So that seems odd to me, but I don't know enough about Traverse City. You're saying it's one of the bigger cities up north. I've just checked. Traverse City's population is 15,000. Their metro area has 153, so that's much, much bigger. The town is fairly small, but there's a lot of people kind of in the area. So I feel like there's probably enough population all year round who might
And there is a bit of a sports premise there too. There's historically been the Pit Spitters, a minor league baseball team, and then there's also the Red Wings do their like preseason up there. So there is a little bit of sporting heritage to a degree there, but whether minor leagues, because the minor league baseball, I'm not sure if they were an affiliate or whatever of a bigger team that wouldn't necessarily be relying on tickets at the door for their revenue. But an interesting concept to think about of just like, do we cater to vacationers?
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on. Traverse City is a possibility. What else?
All right. So Aaron, one of our consistent commenters, he suggested a few teams out in California that might be welcoming to a new team: Santa Rosa and Sonoma County in the Inland Empire.
Okay. So, well, you said Sonoma County? Sonoma
I don't
County's
know
up
if those
north.
things are separate. Is Sonoma and Inland Empire, are those separate places?
Very much so. Inland Empire is to the east of Los Angeles. It's
Okay.
like the greater suburban expanse. So, like my partner on the Best Soccer Show, Jared Dubois, lives in the Inland Empire in Ontario, California. Then you have like Riverside and Rancho Cucamonga, and I'm missing some other big communities out there. People who know the Empire will know what I'm missing. Lots of soccer history in the they have a indoor team in the Inland Empire. I'd be shocked if they don't have more soccer teams, although Andy is saying that's where dreams go to die. Okay. All right. I'll take your word for that. Now, Sonoma County is way up north. That's wine country. That's north of San Francisco. I was just there a couple months ago with my wife on a vacation. Napa has a team. In fact, that's part of the Michael Hitchcock portfolio is Napa Valley's team. But Napa is to the east of Sonoma. Sonoma has its own identity. It seems like Sonoma would be a place. I haven't been to Sonoma, the town, so I don't know. I can't speak to that. But maybe I drove through it. I don't know. I mean, it does feel like a very diverse, very eclectic place. Feels like there would be some interest in soccer. You might be able to get some tourists there as well, I suppose. I mean, I would look if Napa Valley was in town while I was in Napa Valley, I might have gone by to check. I saw a van with their logo on it. I got very excited for about 5 seconds. So
You're like out in the wild, real soccer right there.
Yeah.
It exists.
Yeah.
David Day suggested Baton Rouge, and he explains it might be a good idea because LSU Tiger Soccer strong collegiate program, and that there's already the physical infrastructure and interest there.
Yeah, Baton Rouge, I think, I know there's the New Orleans Jesters down the road. I feel like Baton Rouge should probably have its own thing already. Like, what I'm a little bit worried about is, like, are we talking about towns that already have teams and we just don't know them? And maybe other people don't know about them, right? Like one of the reasons to talk about Annapolis, to talk about McKinney, to talk about Lubbock, to talk about the teams that Hitchcock has and other teams is to let people know they exist, because that's the biggest hurdle for these clubs, Rob. I mean, obviously people have to be willing to sort of engage with high level amateur or semi-pro soccer. Like, that's a barrier for some people. Like, oh, I'm going to go watch. They're not pros. They don't make millions of dollars. But if you're willing to do that, you just kind of have to know that these teams exist. And there are so many different versions of this. So USL League 2 is the highest developmental level of the USL pyramid, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You also have short season leagues like the NPSL, which has been around for a very long time, National Premier Soccer League. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Then you have kind of a different take on the same idea, which is the UPSL, which is high level semi-pro mostly. That they're not playing in the summer UPSL. They're generally playing spring and fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do national playoffs and all this stuff. And that tends to be a lot of guys who are ex-college players or ex-pros, high-level players like that. And sometimes clubs will play in multiple leagues. So you'll have a team that plays in UPSL and also plays in the summer in the NPSL,
Mm-hmm.
or USL League 2 or whatever it is. So, getting kind of your head around what clubs exist is maybe as much a thing as anything else here. And we're throwing out like, that town needs a team. What if they got one? Like, did you know that Charlottesville has a team in the USL too? Charlottesville's a college town. That's University of Virginia. They got a team. I mean, there are teams up and down the East Coast, right? Akron City in the Midwest, FC Buffalo, Flint City Bucks. You know about them, obviously. I mean,
Yep.
These kind of Oakland County plays in the USL League 2. You obviously know that, right? So some of this I think is like, maybe we need to go through and pick out these teams and go, oh, here's a team we know about. Maybe they're not doing 12,000, but how do we get them there? Like, how do we get them to a place where people know about them and are willing to go out and support their team?
Yeah, I think that we might be kind of pulling on that thread a little bit here as we progress with morning kick round. Before we go, a couple of other shout outs of folks suggesting some areas for teams. A guy called Random Dude, love the screen name. Random Dude suggested places that I wasn't familiar, didn't even realize they were close to each other, but Fort Collins, Colorado, and Laramie, Wyoming. He's suggesting in both places for a natural rivalry there.
I believe those are both college towns. Fort Collins is the home of Colorado State University, and I think University of Wyoming's in Laramie. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah, those two places are not too far. You can drive straight up north from Fort Collins and get to Laramie. My parents went to Colorado State, so that would be interesting. That is also the same area, by the way, that Northern Colorado Hailstorm was attempting to get their stuff going, and they got kicked out of USL League 1, if I'm remembering my history correctly. But I do think that they still exist, Northern Colorado Hailstorm, and are maybe playing in one of those high amateur leagues that we were just talking about.
Yeah, and I believe that was like an ownership financial issue rather than like their participation. They won something, didn't they? They won USL League 1?
They won the Jagermeister Cup last year, actually. Did Hailstorm. Got kicked out of League 1. They had some, but this is always the question, right? And this is why when we talk USL and adding a first division, a pro rel, and all these things and filling out these leagues, that thing about like what's going on with the ownership, what's going on with the stadium situation. Do you have a plan? By the way, Hailstorm playing in League for Clubs right now, which is also something we need to talk about. We need to do a little more. And I know we did our interview about the League for Clubs a while back. It's been a while. That's all.
Yeah, we should check in because they weren't even in action just yet when we did that interview. So a lot of other teams have joined that, and other amateur leagues have kind of joined an alliance with League for Clubs. So that like network of amateur clubs is kind of correlating or connecting to the League of Clubs.
Right. Yeah. Chris bringing that in. League for Clubs, part of the Mountain Premier League, partnered with the League for Clubs. Okay. But this goes back to this, right? So again, Crispy Doo 44, who's a member. Shout out to Crispy Doo. The non-professional level of soccer is very confusing. It is indeed very confusing. And I'll hit up Chris again here because I do think this is kind of what I mean. Like when we talk about the awareness, like, okay, Annapolis is making a push to get people in Annapolis in a soccer rich area to come out and support the Annapolis Blues in the summer. There are teams that are in USL League 2, are in PSL, UPSL, League for Clubs, that are not making that effort. He says, I think there's a big difference between a team existing and a team being a part of a community. UPSL team might exist, but it seems usually like 15 guys getting together to play some games. Right.
No doubt.
And so what I will say is lots of those people have their hearts in the right place. Right. Some of them are focused on development. I've talked to club owners in UPSL, for example, who have teams in UPSL, who their entire thing is, I just want kids from New York to get a chance to play some soccer to get seen. He's not out there. These owners are not out there going, you know what I want to do? Sell 10,000 tickets to a game. First of all, they don't even have the financial wherewithal to make the marketing push to do that. They don't even have the structure to do that. They certainly might not have the venue to do that. Remember, Annapolis Blues is playing in a college sports venue. They've got the space. Not everybody has that space. So there is and we have to allow for that range of approaches to this game. But I think I go back to our conversation with Hitch, in which he said, we've got a marketing team. That, we got a company that does the marketing. We got a company that does the logos and the branding, because that's important, and that's how you get attention. Like, we've got a team that does. They built out that structure of all these various pieces that lots of these small time soccer club owners can't touch. They don't have it. They don't have access to it. So I'm wondering how, for those that are more ambitious, we get to that place.
Yeah, but see, like, it is hard to break out of that, 15 dudes playing games to going to be a team that brings in thousands of fans. There's a huge divide there, and just getting 15 to 25 soccer players organized and in the right direction is a thing all of its own. But adding the marketing and the professionalism, all that, a whole nother thing. Round of applause. New member on board, Thomas. Thank you for becoming an MK Ultra. Thank you for joining up and joining in. A couple shouts of suggestions for places before we get out for the day. A couple shouts for North Carolina teams. I saw Fayetteville and Wilmington both getting shouts. JB says Baltimore needs a legit team at any level.
I engaged with that a little bit. Baltimore, it's insane to me. Baltimore doesn't have a professional team that is doing something in USL at the very least. It makes no sense. I know that if you go back far enough, you know about Crystal Palace, Baltimore. There's been talks about a team in Baltimore. I think most recently DC United sold Loudoun United rather, to somebody else so they could focus on putting an MLS Next Pro team, their reserve team in Baltimore, and have done nothing as far as I'm aware. Now, maybe there's red tape. Baltimore, just like any other city, has its own problems in terms of those things, but that is a waste of a place. Look, if Annapolis, which is an hour from Baltimore, can draw 12,000 people for a summer league game, Baltimore, a team in Baltimore, should be able to succeed on the pro level.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He also threw out anywhere in Delaware as well as an option. And then Adam, he threw out Evansville, Indiana for a USL 2 team, and maybe try to do a similar thing to what DeMarcus Beasley's doing in Fort Wayne, kind of doing the USL 2 things for a few years while he garnering support to go pro, which should be happening here.
Home to a very successful college soccer program as well. Evansville, Indiana. So that kind of, and what I was thinking about, so when somebody actually talked about in our comments about that part about putting teams in college towns, obviously part of why we're talking about that is the gap in the summer between the big time sports. But of course, lots of these places have college soccer, Rob, and we've talked about college soccer and trying to leverage or trying to bring college soccer under an umbrella that can help everybody kind of benefit from it and help those players. Man, that's the thing. Like, if you could just find a way to play through the summer with the college soccer team you already have, like it's already there, wouldn't that be something else? Now, again, there's no school it feels like it can't be part of the NCAA system or NAIA system. But why not just make, again, I don't know that it should be University of Indiana. The Hoosiers are playing in USL2, but why not have some team that is basically the college team, maybe rebrand it with their own identity, roll them through the summer, work it out with the college, play in the college venue. Could be awesome.
Hoosiers United FC. I could see it now.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Let's do that.
If you're watching this now and you haven't hit subscribe yet, do so now. Join the American soccer conversation with us here on Morning Kick Around and be like Thomas. Become an MK Ultra. Become a member. $3.99 a month supports this channel and gets you access to the Discord, which, Thomas, you'll be getting that soon. And then you'll get early access to videos, bonus content, and much more. And one thing I've been loving on the Discord channel is the intros thread where everyone introduces themselves. And I love how it's kind of turned into like soccer AA. It's like, hello, I'm Robert. I'm a soccer addict. And this is how I came to be this way. And I've really been enjoying those. Those have been really fun.
Yeah, your people are in there. Like I was raised in England until this age, and then I came over to the US. Your people are in there, Rob. It's great.
Hey, foundations start somewhere, and I love the ones that don't have that familial connections. Like I was watching this when my friend showed me this. Those are stories to kind of veer off. Like I came from a different place, and I love soccer because I came from somewhere else. But like you, what is your spark? What is the thing that got you in the gut there? Yeah,
Me?
you. Yeah.
Well, I played as a kid in Northwest Louisiana, loved it. Moved to Montgomery, Alabama. My mom signed me up for either the wrong soccer team or Alabama just didn't care at the time. And we're talking about early 90s here, people. So, and I quit because it wasn't fun anymore. And then I just basically drifted away. I was again living in Alabama, moved to Northern Virginia in high school. World Cup happened, kind of breezed right by me. I'm sure I was aware of it, but it wasn't. I was a baseball kid. I was passionate about the Denver Broncos and my baseball and all that. And then early adulthood, found Fox Sports World or something, heard a bunch of English people singing these silly songs and went, oh, this is kind of cool. And I had played FIFA. Like that was all part of my cultural experience. I knew who Batistuta was from playing EA Sports games and stuff like that. So it was sort of like just natural, like, oh, this is awesome. Dove straight in, decided that the most important thing in the world to me was the U.S. men's national team winning a World Cup. And here we are.
Still hoping, aren't you there, Jason? As we all are. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Subscribe, become a member, all that stuff. And then one final note, coffee.com/morning kick around. We've set a new goal, 3K for a travel, a reunion, a meeting of the MK Minds. We need to come up with a quippy name for that, but a goal to meet in a central location, me, Jason, and the MK
Ultrapalooza. Just some spitball here.
Ultrapalooza. I like that. So we will be back on Wednesday. And until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.
Bye. Let me click all the buttons because our producer's not here. So give me a second, Rob. Bye.